Hey guys, Daedalus and Ogre with Michigan Gun Guys, and today we're going to be talking about some of the bills that have been introduced into both the House and Senate in the state of Michigan. Obviously, if you guys are in the state of Michigan, this is going to be very important for you. If not, wouldn't be a bad idea to listen, because while most of these bills are in committee, and I can see quite a few of them dying either in committee or on the House floor. If any of these do pass, they could be mirrored in other states, as we've seen, particularly with California and New York. Bills that get passed there do tend to be mirrored in other states. We're seeing that right now as we're recording this. The state of Rhode Island is attempting to pass bills that were passed in California and then even struck down by the Supreme Court in California. Um, those are trying to be passed in Rhode Island, and it's it's uh, it's dumb. But anyway, Ogre here is going to go over some of these, and I'll go over some of them as well. And I'm going to shut up and let him start out here.
All right, so the first bill that we were talking about here is House Bill 5750 and Senate Bill 851. So most of these bills have an equivalent Senate bill going through the works right now. House bills, I don't expect to make it past committee or even end up on the floor, but the Senate bills are definitely going to be something that ends up getting talked about. Either way, so both of these bills would ban the sale or possession of a magazine holding more than 10 rounds. So if you own a standard capacity Glock 17 mag or an AR-15 magazine, this basically turns you into a criminal come January of 2027. If you are caught with those after um, January 1st, you are guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by not more than 90 days in jail or a $500 fine. The House bill and the Senate bill on that, it is exactly the same language. So it's yeah, you're guilty of a misdemeanor. I have no idea how much that ratchets up if you violate it multiple times, but I imagine first or the second time would probably be another like 90 days, and then like a higher fine. Third time would probably be like a felony, is typically how those types of bills work.
Typically, though, that it would, if that was the intent, it would list that, as we'll see with some of these other bills later. What I could see is it's stacking for each, like, not each additional time, but let's say, you go to the range and you get pulled over on your way back and you've got 10, 30 round magazines. Uh, I could see them increasing your jail time and your fine, or both, in that instance, to however many you had at the time. Basically just multiplying the amounts. Um, this is very telling to me that this is being introduced in the House and the Senate at the same time. Like you said, it probably means that they expect it to die in the House and get pushed through the Senate, but then it would still have to go through the House before it lands on the governor's desk. So I'm thinking that with these ones that are just duplicate bills introduced into both, that they're planning on having them die in the House version, if you will. People lose focus on it, stop paying attention to it, and then they can kind of slip it through the Senate and in through the House that way. And hopefully, I'm thinking they're hoping that they have a better chance of getting it passed that way. Uh, it's crazy to me because I don't know of very many guns that come with a magazine less than 10 rounds. Standard for most handguns, even most handguns nowadays, is going to be like 17, 18 rounds. Most ARs are going to ship with a single 30 round magazine. I can think of maybe three or four guns that I currently own that have a capacity of less than 10 rounds. Only one of those even uses a magazine. and that's my HK USP 45 compact that holds 8 rounds in the magazine. And then the other three are a 22 revolver that I have, a single shot 16 gauge shotgun, and a fucking 50 cal musket. So it's pretty ridiculous, and it's going to criminalize a lot of people.
Not only that, as I can imagine this being used as like an attack on charge too. Like if you commit another crime, and they happen to find like, hey, you have a 30-round magazine in the car, like they're just basically gonna use that to like just kind of stack charges.
Oh, without a doubt. And the other thing too that's has to be kept in mind with all of these that we're going to be looking at is there is 100% going to be exemptions for current and former law enforcement, as well as probably any sort of security personnel for anywhere or any sort of thing like that.
Oh, 100%. There always is.
Yes.
All right, so then the next bill that we have to go over, so it's just one up the list, House Bill 5751. This one I am a lot like more worried about, just because of the implications with it. So first bill was banning 10-round magazines. So this is banning bump stocks by name. Like if you have a bump stock, that's we're back to the days of those being banned. A multi-burst trigger activator. So by multi-burst trigger activator, I imagine that would um, basically be FRTs, super safeties, anything that would allow you to
Oh,
simulate.
hold up. So if you scroll further down, it gives you a definition of both. Bump stock means a device that allows a semi-automatic firearm to shoot more than one shot with a single pull of the trigger by harnessing the recoil energy of the semi-automatic firearm to which the device is affixed, so that the trigger resets and continues firing without an additional physical manipulation of the trigger by the shooter. That seems like a very ambiguous definition of a bump stock. Um, and then a multi-burst trigger activator means any of the following: a device designed or redesigned to be attached to, built into, or used in conjunction with a semi automatic firearm that allows the firearm to discharge two or more shots in a burst by activating the device. So that I believe would be more like,
Binary triggers.
yeah, binary
Yep.
triggers. A manual or power driven trigger activating device constructed and designed so that when attached to, built into, or used in conjunction with a semi automatic firearm, it increases the rate of fire of that firearm.
So that
Um,
that would be your super safeties and your FRTs.
Yeah, it goes further too. A device designed or redesigned to be attached to, built into, or used in conjunction with a semi-automatic firearm that enhances the fire rate of a firearm to mimic rapid or automatic fire. That also would fall under an FRT. A multi-burst trigger activator includes, but is not limited to, any of the following: a device placed within the trigger guard of a firearm that uses a spring to push back against the recoil of the firearm, causing the finger in the trigger guard to move back and forth and rapidly activate the trigger. A mechanical device that activates the trigger of the firearm in rapid succession by turning a crank. Any aftermarket trigger or trigger system that, if installed, allows more than one round to be fired with single depression of the trigger. This is written very legally vaguely, so that uh, it's, in my opinion, like you could argue that this literally would just include your fucking finger.
Yeah, because I mean,
I can fire. I can pull my trigger on my fucking ACR and my vector really fucking fast without a force reset trigger, uh, or fucking super safety or a what's the other one I'm thinking of? The binary,
Yeah.
or a binary trigger, and those just make it easier to do, but I can do it without it. So if I shoot my gun too fast with my stock fucking trigger, does that mean I'm in violation of this? With the way it's worded, in my opinion, they could definitely argue that.
All right. So then the next set of bills going through, we have House Bill 5743 and Senate Bill 848. That is just basically it adds a 3-day waiting period if you're purchasing a firearm. Says a seller of a firearm shall not deliver that firearm to the purchaser of the firearm until at least 3 days after the date of sale of the firearm is completed. A person that violates this is guilty of a misdemeanor and punishable by not more than 90 days or a fine of not more than $500 or both.
This one also pisses me off quite a bit. They love to talk about waiting periods, cool off periods, whatever kind of verbiage they want to use to make an excuse for you to have to wait to exercise your right. The thing is, we've seen instances before where these waiting periods have gotten people killed. The most famous example, obviously, being Carol Brown, which was a woman from New Jersey who was stabbed to death by her ex-boyfriend while waiting for her handgun permit. If she had been allowed to get her gun, she would have had a better chance of surviving. Obviously, nothing in life is a guarantee, but bringing a knife to a gunfight, typically the gun has a better chance of winning depending on, what sort of distance you're in. At the very least, it gives you a better fighting chance than being completely unarmed and getting stabbed to death. So this is wholeheartedly stupid, and that's my thoughts on it. I'm trying not to swear because this YouTube video, but it a lot of these make me want to swear.
Hey, it's fine. We're a gun tube channel. We're not going to get monetized anyways, especially not with ready or not footage playing in the background of this video. All right, so the next set of bills. So we have House Bill 5741 and Senate Bill 849. So this basically expands gun-free zones in the state to include all state-owned or leased building. Effectively ends the ability of CPL holders to carry on the Michigan Capitol grounds or just any government building that is within the state of Michigan.
One that's also that they're also changing here is Section D, because this is amending existing, as you said. Section D, they change a bar or tavern to an establishment licensed under Michigan Liquor Code of Control. That is so it's been very iffy for a long time. Because it used to be, and you can still see it crossed out here, where the primary source of income of the business is the sale of alcohol, liquor by the glass and consumed on the premises. Um, that was always one where it's like, well, how the hell do you know if their primary source of income is alcohol? I mean, some it's fairly obvious. Others, it's very much of, well, how can you tell? Now they are simplifying this language in a way that is going to make it a lot harder to carry a gun at any sort of restaurant that just happens to have serve alcohol. Um, they are also, you said with they're making the changes to owned or leased by the state, or that is a building or owned by the state. This is basically what it looks like they're doing is they're expanding it to the grounds of the state capitol, and I'm kind of lost my train of thought here, but
All right, yeah. So they expanded it to the grounds of the state capitol. They also expanded it to a dormitory or classroom of a community college, or university. So I guess previously before, if you like, if the university allowed it, you could carry on school grounds. This is just straight up just like, it eliminates the ability for them to grant you the um, permission to essentially carry on school grounds. Again, sure, probably security and law enforcement probably won't have to um, follow that. Um, Also prevents you from
Um,
carrying in a public library, which, I mean, if you are going to carry in a public library, you want to make sure you have a silencer.
it's library, you fucking country bumpkin. Um, and going back to the whole college thing, yeah, that's I like you said, I'm sure that there is going to be exemptions for police and security personnel, but they're not going to be around to protect you. We've seen tons of instances where they exist on a campus, or they're by a school, or they're just all standing around outside fucking Uvalde doing nothing. So essentially, even if you're in college and you can legally own a gun, you can legally conceal carry a gun, you don't get to defend yourself. You have to rely on the state and hope that they're there to save you. They probably won't be. And if you don't like it, tough shit, I guess. It seems to be the message they're sending here. And this is kind of stupid given the fact that when there was that state of Michigan shooting a couple years ago, one of the messages that had been spray painted on that big rock that they have that they'll spray paint messages on all the time, was classmates asking to be allowed to defend themselves because that's one of the campuses that didn't previously allow it. And now they're just fucking doubling down on the fact of, oh no, you don't get to protect yourself. You have to rely on us to protect you and hope we will. Here's a billion examples of all the times we failed, but it'll be okay, guys, next time, we promise.
And then also, this is the specific legislation that I was thinking of, to where when you violate it once, it's a fine of $1,000 or $500. If you violate it again, it's a fine of 1,000. Then, if you have a third violation, it is a felony punishable by imprisonment for 4 years and a fine of $5,000.
Yeah, utterly ridiculous. This is, I mean, it's amending existing penal code, but this whole penal code should not fucking exist. The whole thing should be ripped out of the Michigan Penal Code entirely, not amended to make it even stupider.
The next bill, or set of bills, we have House Bill 5749 and then Senate Bill 852. So this basically makes changes to the preemption rules within Michigan. This basically would allow cities and townships to kind of create their own like patchwork of laws, which, if like, say, if it's illegal to say go and carry in your local county building, and then you go a county over and you go and carry in their side county building, well, they might have a completely different law banning you from doing that, and then suddenly you are catching an infraction or a felony, because normally, gun laws are all the same across the entire state. This basically allows them to change from county to county.
I'm sorry, which ones are we looking at now?
This is House Bill 5749.
5749. Okay.
So basically, it allows local municipalities to prohibit the open carry of firearms inside government buildings owned or leased by the local unit of government. And then it then goes on to state a local unit of government shall not prohibit the open carry of firearms by a law enforcement officer. So it basically goes to like, hey, you can't open carry inside our courthouse, but law enforcement's fine. Like, rules for thee, not for me.
Yep, and that's not surprising at all. This also does change. So
the
5749.
The crazy thing here
I'm
is
sorry,
this is
5740. I'm sorry, 5741. So just one part I wanted to highlight too that I wasn't aware already was a thing, that they changed the language of just a little bit. Um, where'd it go?
we're back to looking at
Yeah.
5741.
I'm sorry, 5749. These links are a little messy. So 5749, one thing it changes that I wasn't aware was already a thing. It changes the language a little bit. Regulated provisions of pneumatic guns, local government requiring individual uh, who is less than 16 years of age, who is in possession of a pneumatic gun, be under supervision of parent, guardian, or individual 18 years or older. Okay, so I guess that's not really important. That's just something that they minorly updated the language on.
Yeah, the crazy
Um,
thing is, like, that entire provision, like lines 19 through 23, like this is being added onto a law that's existing on the books that's mostly about regulating airsoft.
yeah,
Like that's kind of strange.
yeah. I feel like a bill that regulates airsoft should be an entirely different section of the penal code. From this, I mean, it's. But I could also see them tacking that on as a just a way to hide it, so to
Right.
speak. Like they're gonna push it under the guise of, hey, we're just changing some language about airsoft guns, but we're also adding this shit.
All right, and then the next three bills that we are going to cover all deal with essentially establishing liability and allowing gun manufacturers to be sued by like victims of gun violence. So yeah, the first bill establishes like liability and says like, hey, you can sue firearms manufacturers for these. 5759. Basically, it's a technical bill that updates the code of criminal procedure to align with sentencing guidelines, with the new liability and safety regulations being introduced with 5758. And then 5760 basically abolishes immunity for manufacturers to actually allow them to be sued. So it establishes liability, abolishes their immunity that protects them, and then creates sentencing guidelines. So we're going to go through each of these bills probably in detail because these are all brand new language. So 5758 says the people of the state of Michigan enact a firearm industry member by conduct unlawful in itself or unreasonable under all circumstances shall not knowingly or recklessly create, maintain, contribute to a public nuisance through the sale, manufacture, importing, or marketing of a firearm related product. Second section of this is a firearm industry member shall establish and implement reasonable controls regarding the manufacture, sale, and distribution of use and marketing of the firearm industry member's firearm related products. Violation of subsection 1 or 2 is a public nuisance. Um, Section 4. A firearm industry member's conduct constitutes a proximate cause for the public nuisance if the harm to the public is reasonably foreseeable or is a reasonably foreseeable effect of the conduct notwithstanding any intervening actions, including unlawful actions by third parties. If it appears to the Attorney General that a firearm industry member has engaged in or is engaging in conduct in violation of this section, the Attorney General may commence a action to seek and obtain the following: an injunction prohibiting the firearm industry member from continuing the conduct or engaging in the conduct or doing any acts in furtherance of the conduct, and an order providing for abatement of the nuisance at the expense of the firearm industry member, restitution, compensatory and punitive damage, reasonable attorney fees, filing fees, and reasonable costs of any of the action, any appropriate relief. A person identified in section 3805 that has been damaged as a result of a firearm industry member's acts or omissions in a violation of this section may commence an action to seek and obtain any of the following: injunctive relief, compensatory or punitive damages, reasonable attorney fees, filing fees, reasonable cost of actions. If a person commences an action requesting relief under the subsequent section 6A, if a person shall within 5 days of filing the complaint, okay, this is just kind of getting into just how to file the lawsuit, but the gist of this is basically if your firearm is misused in any way, the firearm like industry member, which is vague, firearm industry member is liable, and it looks
So
like
it's it actually does go into detail. Probably the only well thought out. I mean, they do go into a lot of detail here. So they mention if you scroll down some, firearm accessory means an attachment or device designed or adapted to be inserted to, affixed onto, or used in conjunction with a firearm that is designed, intended, or functions to alter or enhance fire capabilities of firearm, lethality of firearm, or a shooter's ability to hold or use a firearm. So that literally means like any firearm component. It could be an optic, a magazine, a stock, a trigger group, even down to the ammunition. And then it also lists firearm industry member means a person engaged in the sale, manufacture, distribution, importing, or marketing of a firearm related product.
marketing of
Firearm
a
related.
firearm. Sorry, I want to hit on that. Marketing of a firearm related product. That would be us if
Yes.
we did a review.
Yes, it would
Like,
be. But again, come to my door with level 4 plates or fuck off. Um, Firearm related product means a firearm, ammunition, firearm precursor part. I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. Firearm component, a three-dimensional printer or computer numerical control milling machine, or a firearm accessory that meets any of the following conditions. Product was sold in the state. This product was intended to be sold or distributed in the state. The product was possessed in the state, and it was reasonably foreseeable that the product would be possessed or used in the state. Firearm trafficker means a person who acquires, transfers, or attempts to acquire or transfer firearms for purposes of lawful commerce. Um, Public nuisance means a condition that injures, endangers, or threatens to injure or endanger, or that contributes to the injury or endangerment of the health, safety, and peace, comfort, convenience of others that otherwise constitutes a public nuisance under common law. Blah 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 blah. So yes, this would fall on. We would fall under this for reviewing firearms. Um, this could also fall under. So this would also be similar to how California is currently suing the Catalog, Control Pew, and seemingly every other like 3D printed firearm group except for DefCAD. For no suspicious reason that DefCAD is excluded from that, but it would also, I believe, it would also make people like Phoenix Ammunition, who prints uh, and like puts like political figures on their ammo bags and stuff to mock them. It would also open them up to litigation as well. So, really, just basically anybody in slightly at any level of the firearms industry could be sued if this bill was to pass by anybody in the state of Michigan or the state of Michigan itself, is what I'm picking up here. It's also crazy that not only do they list um three-dimensional printer, which is just a fancy way. You can literally just say 3D printer, okay? You don't have to put in the law in your stupid bill. Three-dimensional printer, okay? You can just say 3D printer. But they also list like milling machines. That's crazy to me.
The final House bill. So House Bill 5760 that abolishes immunity. So basically, on page 3 from sections 25 to page 5, going to section 13, this basically gets rid of that a federally licensed firearm dealer is not liable for damages arising from use or misuse of a firearm if the sale complies with this section. Basically, just strikes out all that language, which opens them back up for lawsuits if, again, someone goes and purchases a firearm and misuses it. You can use your imagination to figure out what that would be.
Yeah, so basically, with these bills that they're introducing, they're targeting gun owners. They're targeting local FFLs because I don't see them being able to do much about FFLs in other states. And then they're also targeting the any member of the firearms industry in general, whether you're just somebody that makes ammo or parts or literally anything. They're the state of Michigan has decided we're just gonna go full fucking California and try and pick fights with everybody who likes guns.
Yeah, so these are all pretty pressing issues that we're going to have to tackle in one way, shape, or form in the upcoming months. Um, so, how we can get involved, right? So, currently, all of the House bills are currently held up in the House Government Operations Committee. So, Government House Operations Committee is currently made up of 5 members, 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats. Um, so, the best way to make sure that these bills never receive the light of day is just call up these people that are on the committee, which I'm going to have their contact information listed. Basically, call them up, tell them it's like, hey, we don't agree with these bills. They essentially strip the Second Amendment as we know it in the state of Michigan. Um, so then the next strategy, if for whatever reason these make it out of, make it out of the committees, or the Senate bill start getting traction, is just start reaching out to your local senator or your local House rep. It doesn't matter if they're Democrat, doesn't matter if they're Republican, doesn't matter if they're independent. Not that I think we have many independent reps or senators in the state of Michigan, but regardless,
I don't think
they're
I don't think we have many either.
at the end of the day, once they are elected, their job is to represent their constituents, not just their party. So I would be giving every representative that you can get a hold of a call, let them know that, like, hey, we oppose these bills. We don't want you to vote for them. If you can, because a lot of these guys are campaigning for the midterms, meet with them personally. Go over your concerns, talk to them about their concerns. Calling is always good, so is emailing, but face-to-face conversations, I believe, are probably the best way to make your voice heard and change people's minds. Simply because it's a lot harder to argue with someone. It's a lot harder to tell someone no in person than it is to, just reply to an email, or I mean, just even ignore the email or just ignore a phone call.
Well, and let's be honest here too. A lot of the emails and phone call and like a lot of the email inboxes and the phone lines are typically going to be managed by staffers. They're not typically managed by the representative themselves because the representative has stuff to do. So they designate a staffer or multiple staffers to monitor and reply or answer the phones or whatever. Whereas when you have a sit down with a representative, you know for a fact that you're right in front of them, they're right in front of you, and you're not just getting some staffer who might pass the message along like, hey, we got a lot of phone calls and emails against this, or they might just be like, well, I am in support of this personally, so I'm not going to let Representative who's it know that his constituents are against this.
Right. There's a lot of red tape sometimes that gets in the way of contacting your local representative. So you have to be persistent about it and get past those staffers as best as you can.
Yep. Another thing to keep in mind too, whether you're in the state of Michigan or anywhere, um, just because somebody has a R or a D next to their name does not mean that they're going to always vote the way that you think they will in regards to a piece of legislation, whether it's pro-gun, anti-gun, or just any bill in general. Um, they're going to be typically, unless they're bullied by the public, they're going to go the way that the party is going. And we've seen in the past, we've seen the Republican Party pretend to be pro gun and then vote against gun owners. We've seen individuals in both parties vote against gun owners, both in a state level and a national level. We have also seen with more recent legislation in the state of Michigan, some Democrats have voted pro-gun, particularly ones that are Democrats of either rural areas or like Metro Detroit, um, because they recognize that being able to defend yourself is important, especially in the city of Detroit. That's had a not great response time with their police for a long time, so people were left to rely on themselves. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, don't write somebody off just because you think they're not going to listen to you. Contact everybody, and don't all at the same time don't just look at your representative and go, oh yeah, they're they're a Republican, or they I know that I know how they'll vote. It's not worth my time to contact them. Do it anyway. Take the time and do it anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say, just assuming you know how your representative is going to vote and not contacting them is exactly how you get people like Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, and I mean, like again, the just because somebody's a Republican doesn't mean that they're gonna vote in favor of the Second Amendment. A lot of there's plenty of times where they like to pay lip service to run on being pro 2A, but then there's plenty of them that are not. Just like there's Democrats that are secretly pro 2A, but know that running on a pro 2A platform as a Democrat is almost political suicide. So don't be so certain of how people are going to vote.
Yeah.
Um, Especially because there was like 5 years where Michigan Republicans had a majority in the House, the Senate, and even in the governorship, and they could have passed constitutional carry. And guess what they didn't do? Pass constitutional carry or even hardly any pro gun laws during that time period.
No, they just poisoned Flint's water supply.
Yes. Bold strategy, and it has not paid off for them.
Yeah. So with us going into midterms and with the way the Michigan politics currently sit, I don't imagine any of these bills passing. I do, however, worry that if we don't get good pro 2A candidates in, then come this time next year when these bills rear their ugly head up in some way, shape, or form, that's when they are going to start passing. So whether or not you're voting Democrat, whether or not you're voting Republican, let your representatives know going into the midterms that, hey, I'm paying attention to your voting record. These issues are important to me, and these issues are going to determine whether or not I vote for you in your reelection campaign.
Yep.
Midterms
100%.
are one of the. I would say these are the best opportunities to make your voice heard, because once you're elected, they don't need to worry about you for the next year and a half until they have to start worrying about their re-election campaign. But in the months coming up to their re-election campaign is the best time to really let your voice be known.
Yeah. Another thing, obviously, too, is in my opinion, the best way to um, kill bills like this permanently is obviously you have the front of 3D printing. 3D printed firearms have continued to be a big nuisance for gun bills. It's why you're starting to see language specifically targeting them. At the same time, you can't stop the signal. But more importantly, we have to get the majority of the country to realize that this is a right that we all have. It doesn't matter what political party you're a part of. It doesn't matter what race you are, what gender you are, what your preferred sexuality is. Um, it's a right for everybody, or it's a right for nobody. So if you have friends who either don't really have any interest in guns, know anything about them, or are against guns, and you are pro-gun, offer to take them out. Um, have them shoot guns. Don't do don't trick them. Don't have them shoot like a 50 cal or something, so where they hate it. Have them shoot something that's easy to control, that's fun to plink with. Um, and have a conversation with them. I mean, that's like this is a gun. This is what it does. It can be deadly. It can be fun. Um, the two are not mutually exclusive, and it's a right that you and I both have. I express that right every day because I carry. Maybe you don't, but maybe you'd like to come out. But if these laws pass, you and I aren't going to be able to do this. And, you won't convince everyone, but having these conversations with people um, is the best way to get people to look at guns differently that already have preconceived notions. um, Obviously you're not going to change everybody's minds, but if you can change, if everybody could change at least one person's mind on that issue, um, that's a lot of people that weren't uh, in favor of gun ownership at all, maybe that are like, you know, I'd try it, and then from there you can go from, oh, I'd try it to, oh, I like this, and I want to protect this because this is my right as an American.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have to cover for tonight. This has been Ogre and Daedalus with Michigan Gun Guys. As always, my friends, stay safe, stay dangerous. We'll see you in the next video.
And if you do pass these bills, I'm not complying. Come to my house or fuck off.